It's very late at night. We are at an undisclosed location, very close to the Mexican border, actually. And we're here because this car actually has 0 launches on it. And before I get into tuning the car and doing all the fun stuff, I do have an exhaust on it. I do have aftermarket forged wheels on it, which will be next week's video. And I have Michelin Pilot Sport 4S 255 3520s on it. Those are pretty much the only performance mods, and the exhaust isn't really performance, it's just noise. But aside from that, the car is completely bone stock. I have all sorts of junk in here. I even have the car seat in here, so I'm not going for a record-setting time. I just want to get a baseline, and that brings me to what we're doing tonight. We are going to be plugging in the Draggy for my first time using it for my own device. I've used Friends before, but this is my first time using it. But before we get to that, I want to show you guys how to check your launch control counter on your S6. All right, so if you have OBD11 like I do, you can do this in VAGCOM as well, but we're going to do it in OBD11. You go to Control Units. We're going to go to Transmission. When you are in Transmission, you are going to go ahead and go to Live Data. It's going to pull up this screen. You're going to scroll, or you can just search Launch Control Counter, Counter for Launch Control, or Launch Control Counter. We can do either one. We'll do Done. It's going to pull up both of those, and both of those should read 0. So, this car has never been launched. If you're new to DSG cars, that counter, as far as I know, cannot be reset. So if you're looking to buy a car, it's useful to have an OBD11 or a VAGCOM or whatever with you, and just check the launch control counter. I didn't do that prior to buying the car. I was expecting at least, 5 on it, but it turns out a lot of people don't know how to engage launch control. This car, like I said, has never been launched. This on video will be the car's first launch and my first launch with the car, which is super exciting stuff. Let's go through the process of how to launch the car. So I'm doing this with the car off. Obviously, the first step is to have the car on. You're going to go ahead and turn off traction control. In this car, which is a 2016 and up, I believe you can't actually turn off traction control. So it'll say, what did it say? Stabilization control ESC Sport warning, reduced stability. But that means that the stability control is still on. What it's just doing is shutting off the traction control. So if you spin the tires in a straight line, it shouldn't intervene. But if you spin the tires going sideways, it will intervene, which is annoying because that means you can't go snow drifting. But we'll figure that out when it comes to winter. Also, we all know my history of cars and snowy days and plow trucks, so maybe I won't be doing that. But once you do that, you have your traction control shut off. All you have to do is put the car down to sport mode or into manual mode, and you can test this by putting your foot on the brake and lightly tapping the gas or holding down on the gas a little bit. If you feel the clutch engage, something is wrong. The car wasn't happy with you doing that. Make sure you're at a complete stop. Put your left foot on the brake, put your right foot on the gas, give it a couple taps. It should freely rev. From there, you're going to hold hard on the brake, floor the gas pedal all the way. Make sure you're floored all the way. In the S6, launch control from the factory is right around 5,000 RPMs, which I think is absolutely wild. But the car will shoot up to 5,000 RPMs. It will hold there, and then when you're ready, you come off the brake. The car will essentially dump the clutch. I would imagine the tires will chirp at least, although I don't really know because peak torque is at like 3,000 RPMs, which I think is why they set launch control at 5,000. But the car should automatically shift for you. If you don't have a tune in the car, if you're in manual or sport, either way, the car is going to automatically shift for you. You just keep your foot pinned until you get to wherever you have to slow down. In our case, after a quarter mile. Before we make any passes, make sure to go follow on Instagram. We're almost at 10,000 followers, and if you don't follow, we're going to run 15s for the rest of the car's life. All right, here we go. First launch in the S6.
30, 60, 1/4 mile.
Ah, not bad. She launched all right.
Half mile.
It didn't leave as hard as I was used to in the SQ5, but it left pretty well. It didn't slip the clutch like it felt like in the S4. I'm gonna try the upswing trick from the S4 days and see if that does anything for us. Well, she left harder.
60.
but it spun. I don't know. If you didn't catch what I did in the second pass that made the tires chirp, essentially what the upswing thing is something that we used a lot when I was drag racing the S4. Because these cars use the throttle body to regulate launch RPM, when you hit 5,000 RPMs, the throttle body goes from open to like just barely cracked to maintain that RPM, and then when you drop the clutch, or rather when you come off the brake and the car drops the clutch, the throttle body snaps open. I think the difference is if you upswing it, which means that you don't let it get to 5,000 RPMs, you let off the brake before that, the car launches with the throttle body wide open, which on a blower car is cool, but on a turbo car, I would imagine there's probably a little bit more boost flowing through the system right off the rip than if you just had it off that cracked throttle body and let it go. The factory launch control in this car doesn't build boost.
So it's actually really interesting to watch this upswing footage back in slow motion. You can see right before 5,000 RPMs, we hit it, and look at the boost. That's the artificial boost gauge. But see how much boost is flowing through the system right as we launch it? The unfortunate downside of this is the car actually does end up short shifting first gear. Watch. See it shift there, and then the next gear it goes all the way out to 6,500. That is actually hard programmed in the ECU. It's kind of a thing that tuners struggled with on the S4 chassis. Essentially, the car doesn't want you pinging the limiter if you are spinning in first gear. So if you spin in first gear, the ECU usually tells the car to short shift the 1 to 2 shift to avoid pinging the rev limiter, like I said.
All right, and there she is. Launch control for clutch 1, 2, launch control counter 2. Our first 2 launches of many. A 12.50 at 111 backed up by a 12.45 at 112. I am very excited to tune this car. That will be coming up at some point. I may or may not beta test some stuff that I'm not going to post on YouTube, and then I'll post a long-term review when the tune goes live. So some exciting stuff coming down the pipeline for sure, but not bad. That's actually my first time using Draggy. It's pretty nifty how it overlays the stuff over the video. And just remember, that video, I wasn't driving. I was just commentating. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, if you do choose to go do stuff like this, make sure to do it in a safe manner. Don't do anything crazy. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Go out there and spread some positivity, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.